Good afternoon. Welcome to Jeffco Patriot Radio. It's just after high noon in the heartland. You're listening to us on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, or perhaps you're streaming us worldwide on Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the Jeffco Patriot Radio Facebook page, or the News Talk STL app, which you can obtain for your Apple devices or those weird Android thingies. I don't know what those are because I'm an Apple guy. I'm Tim Jones, former Speaker of your Missouri House, joined here by Billy Crow. Somebody really enjoyed the fact that I called you the beautiful and talented Billy Crow. They agreed with that.
They did. That is the infamous Jeffrey Taylor. He's in all things Jefferson County politics. He likes to see what's going on and poke his nose around.
Well, hello, listener Jeff, and everybody else who's joining us this afternoon. Thank you so much. I can't believe it. Billy can't either. It's Sunday, the last Sunday in February, I do believe.
Because we've only got one more Saturday, but no Sunday on it. That'll be March 1st.
February 22nd. Billy and I, as you can see, we're both still here. We both survived Valentine's Day last weekend.
That's right.
Which means Suzanne and Lisa must have been happy as clams.
I think so, yeah.
Indeed. All right, on to the next holiday. It is, Billy, we're in a bit of a somber season now. We had Ash Wednesday this past week.
Yeah.
For us Christians, all our Christian brothers and sisters out there, want to wish you a very blessed Lenten season. Hope you get a lot out of this season of contemplation. We'll be contemplating a lot as we prepare for election season later on this year.
That's right.
In fact, Billy, this week marks the opening of filing.
February 24th, which will be Tuesday. You got your local filings, which will be at the courthouse. And then for state officials, that's going to be at Jeff City. It's going to be an interesting time. There's a lot of people that have started a lot of rumors about different people running or not running. And so we're about to see what comes true.
You and I and all of our guests have been talking about Election 26 for what seems like years now, although it's really only been just the past 7 or 8 months or so that we focused on this. But now the time is here for people to stop all of the pomp and circumstance and decide whether or not their intentions were real, true, and accurate, and whether or not they're going to put their names on that dotted line.
And I think just for instance, right, look at the Senate race that we're going to have to fill Mary Elizabeth's seat. How many candidates have gone in and out of that race when finally we might end up with only just one candidate when it's all said and done?
What an amazing journey that has been.
It's been interesting.
It's really remarkable. We got a ton of events coming up in Jefferson County. We'll get to those in a moment. And it's Ladies' Day here at Jeffco Patriot Radio.
It is.
Got 2 fantastic lady leaders. We're going to speak to Her Honor, Judge Shannon Dougherty, in our second segment. What are we going to speak to the good judge about this afternoon?
Well, we are going to talk about Casa and the foster care system. That's going to be the whole show. And so we're going to look at this from the judge's perspective. I think she was there from the beginning of bringing Casa into the county. And so seeing how those things play out on the court side. So
the legal perspective, how that all fits within our system of justice and jurisprudence and the importance of it. And then we'll talk about the big Casa Gala, which is coming up right around the corner. So we will have the wonderful and talented Lisa Crow on to talk about that. Truly, now that I've known you as long as I have, truly your better half. I'm just telling you.
There is no doubt about it. And she's been going all around the county, going to city council meetings and Chamber of Commerce events, trying to promote the board or to board the gala. And it's been interesting to see. I think everybody is starting to understand that she is my better half now.
2 great guests talking about one common purpose. We'll tell you all about Casa, the gala, and all the events around that later on in the program. Billy, we've had a very busy spring. Spring hasn't sprung yet, but it's kind of in the air. I know we went back into a little bit of winter this weekend. I was supposed to play golf today, and then it was 30 degrees again after. It's always wonderful, beautiful, and sunny during the weeks. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I was lucky.
We have to pray harder.
Well, I was lucky enough, so I did the morning show with Mike Ferguson on Thursday, and I took the rest of the day off, so I was able to enjoy some of that weather and not be at work for once.
And I want to get back to tonight is the closing ceremonies of the Winter Olympics, of the Winter Games, and I gave my speaker stump speech this week around Michaela Schifrin, who for me was the Olympic moment I was waiting for. So I'll get back to that in a moment. But we had a very busy week, and I want to thank you and Dwayne and Jeffco Patriot Radio for inviting me to the State of the County address, which was the last address that current County Executive Dennis Gannon will have given, because he is retiring at the end of this year. He's still got most of the year to go, and he's got a lot on his plate and a lot of plans ahead. But that was a great affair, very well attended, and huge shout out to the folks at Northwest High School and the district writ large who put that event on, transforming the Fieldhouse Gymnasium into an event stage. And I thought they did a remarkable job.
They did, and Doreen Dow, who is the interim superintendent, she was my debate teacher in high school.
No way.
So everything that I love about speaking and all of that's all started with her back in the day.
Did she say you turned out all right?
I think so. But to be fair, I love her, but she's a little on the left side, so she might not agree with what I'm doing, but we'll see.
She's probably still proud of you.
I think
hey,
so.
Tell the folks what you took away from County Executive Gannon's final State of the County address. What were the main points that you pulled out for folks who were not there?
Yeah, I think that the main takeaway that I had was the county's got a lot of potential, and we're at a crossroads where we either need to move forward, well, we have to move forward, right? There were some slides that talk about the average home being built costs $330,000. That's not a starter home. I don't know anybody that is got a new family that's going to be able to afford to live in Jefferson County at that rate. And we've got huge potential when it comes to investment in the county, whether it's the feared data centers or the feared subdivisions, and that there's a very small group that some call NIMBYs, right? Not in my backyards, that just yell and shout and are loud. But we as elected officials, we don't just represent them, we represent the entirety of the county, all 230,000 people, and we need to look out for their grandkids' future. I really think that was a really powerful point that he really brought home in this State of the County address.
I thought there was definitely some positivity in some of the data and stats that the county executive regaled us with, including the fact that the population is growing.
It is, yeah.
That GDP growth is increasing, but that much more needs to be done. Look, if you want to live by no one and experience no human contact, you still can do that in the state of Missouri and in the heartland writ large. You'll just have to move a little further out and buy a piece of property on your own.
Right.
But if you're going to live in an area, let's say within 45 minutes to an hour of a major metro center like St. Louis or Kansas City, or now even Springfield or Columbia, maybe some would also include Cape Girardeau in that conversation, and maybe a few other of our towns around the city, you are going to be experiencing growth, whether you like it or not. And so the question is growing the right. And if you don't grow, away you will go, and your community wants stuff. Because don't we always hear people always saying, well, I want this, and I want that, and I want the other thing. Well, in order to do that, you're going to have to responsibly grow to bring those investments in so people have enough of a population. Look, in the business that supports the population, that's kind of the economics one circle of life.
Right. There's always the cart and the horse. Which comes first, right? The chicken and the egg. And it's like, yes, you've got to let both happen. And I think that one of the debates that gets talked about on the county council, I know it's very nuanced, but, well, a subdivision can't go there. Well, why not? Well, because there's no services. Well, the county's not going to invest money in the services. The sewer partner's not going to invest money in the services until there's something there to support it. Well, we need to have that there. But who's going to pay for it? Do you want your taxes raised? Well, no. Do you want less services? Well, no. Well, then something's got to give. And growth is the only obvious way.
Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to be willing to grow it yourself.
That's right.
Essentially long term. All right, we got a lot of events coming up in Jefferson County, as we always do. Let's talk about, I bet this first one's your favorite.
I'm most excited about this one, yes.
Live professional wrestling coming back to the county of Jefferson.
That's right. We've got live pro wrestling at the AmVet in That's going to be Saturday, February 28th. So that's next Saturday. Doors open at 6 p.m. The bell time is at 7. That's in Herculaneum at the AmVet's Post 4255 Joachim Avenue in Herculaneum. Any questions for that, you can look at the AmVet's website, Facebook page, or give them a call.
Excellent. Who doesn't love an all-you-can-eat breakfast? We've got one coming up courtesy of the Rotary Club of DeSoto.
These Rotary Clubs in Missouri, or in Jefferson County in particular, they do a great job with these pancake breakfasts. And the one we got coming up here is for the DeSoto Rotary Club. It's an all-you-can-eat breakfast Saturday, March 7th. It's going to be from 7 to 11 at the DeSoto Senior High Cafeteria down there on AmVets Drive. $8 for adults. Children 12 and under eat free with a paid adult, and all children under 12 are eligible to enter a drawing for a free scooter.
Hey.
They've even got carry-out options. They're going to have not just pancakes, but sausage and biscuits and gravy. I'm trying to figure out how to convince them that my 16-year-old daughter is 12.
Indeed. And staying along those same lines, we have the Arnold, that's in your backyard,
That's right.
Arnold Chamber of Commerce. I love the extravaganza of the Arnold Chamber of Commerce. Billy, that's coming up Saturday, March 21st. I know that seems like a long way away, but it's 3 weeks from now.
I think we were talking about Christmas in July and feeling like that was coming right around the corner, right? And that's what it feels like now. But we've got Easter egg hunts coming up already. That's going to be at the Fox Senior High School track. I've attended that a couple years. It's amazing to see all of the eggs out there and the kids just like pouncing on them. It's the gates open at 10:30 in the morning, and they've got sponsored activities. The egg hunt itself begins at noon. It is absolutely a free community event, and if you want more information, you can go to the Chamber's website at arnoldchamber.org, and they've got stuff to look at there for the project.
Fantastic. A little Jefferson City roundup. We had an interesting week in the city of Jefferson, the capital city here in the Show Me State. Billy, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the infamous or famous, depending on which side of the aisle you're on and whose ox is getting gored, VLT bill, the Video Lottery Terminals bill, actually, surprisingly, did get third read, which means it got passed out of the Missouri House. So that bill is over to the Senate. There was a first round vote. I don't want to bore everybody. It's called a perfection vote. So you have to have 2 rounds of debate and discussion in the House. The first round is called perfection. It simply means debate and amendments, if possible, if acceptable, blah. And then you have a second round. Well, sometimes they'll take a roll call vote on the first round just to take everyone's temperature and see where folks are. You need 82 votes to pass a bill in the Missouri House. It received 64 votes on the first round. Little bit below the threshold. Yeah. And I was thinking, where are they going to get 14 more votes from? Well, they did, because each side has hired a veritable army of lobbyists, and the pro side must have done a heck of a good job. I believe it received 83 votes out of 163. So not like an overwhelming mandate on that bill, but it is a start. It does keep the conversation moving. Look, there have been some recent developments in this area, including a judicial opinion this past week that finally declared that these gray machines may not be so gray, they may be illegal. So there is actually a little bit more of an impetus this year for the legislature to do something. And look, if the legislature doesn't do something again on an issue that they've been grappling with for years, what's going to possibly happen? Somebody's going to go to the ballot box again. And they're going to put another constitutional amendment in there that is not going to be easily adjustable. And then a few years from now, just like we're doing on Medicaid expansion and online gambling and abortion, we're going, well, we didn't want that to happen. Well, number one, vote for Amendment 4 this year to reform our IP process. And number 2, urge your legislator to resolve this VLT, not BLT, that'd be better, VLT issue, the Video Lottery Terminal issue. It was Representative Hardwick's bill. Once again, another Freedom Caucus member trying to solve a problem. Bill Hardwick from South Central Missouri, Freedom Caucus member. He was the lead sponsor of that. It has passed over to the Senate.
Well, that's exciting, because I know that I've got a lot of constituents that feel very uncomfortable because those seem to be popping up everywhere.
Indeed. But
I've also got other friends that they own those businesses and they run those, and they're very profitable business for them. And if it's legal and it's taxed right, then why not, right?
Put the regulatory guardrails around it. Make sure that look, I'm a low tax guy, but I also don't believe in avoiding taxes. And that's one of the discussions we've been having around our income tax battle, which some people seem to be confused about where I am on that. I want to cut our income tax, in case anybody was wondering. And the governor has called for certain exemptions in that for food, healthcare, and ag. We'll have to see, with the devil being in the details. On that issue, Billy, they are working in the House right now. That's where my focus is. We'll worry about the Senate later, because there is one vehicle on this that's moving. It's in the House. They hope to have a committee vote on the big, gigantic, ginormous, one big, beautiful income tax cut bill this week. So we'll update folks next week on where that stands.
That's exciting.
Lots to get to on this afternoon's edition of Jeffco Patriot Radio. As we promised, we'll have Her Honor, Judge Shannon Dougherty, up next to talk about Casa, the program, what it means for the kids and the families in Jefferson County. Sometimes even I get tongue-tied. Let me start again. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome back to our latest edition of Jeffco Patriot Radio. It is Sunday, February 22nd, 2026, the final Sunday of February here in 2026. Billy, when we come back next week and talk to the folks, it'll be March the 1st.
Yeah, amazing. It'll be time to think about Easter eggs and Guinness beer.
Indeed. Yeah, that's right. Let's see. Yeah, so we had Mardi Gras. We all survived Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
We'll get to Judge Shannon Dougherty. She's standing by very patiently for all of us, but sometimes I get things in my mind during the break I want to ask Billy about. Do you do anything for Lent? Do you give anything up or try to do anything differently?
Or? That's an interesting thing. When I grew up Catholic, and so that was always kind of put on me to do. And then when I became Baptist, I stopped doing that. Well, then we went to a church it was Baptist, but they like to do a little more orthodox things, more traditional things. And my wife, being raised Baptist, I've never done this Lent stuff. So we tried it again. But for the last couple of years, I've kind of been it's one of those oh my gosh, it's it's Ash Wednesday. Like, I haven't even thought it through what I'm going to give up. So I'm not really good about that.
Okay. Yeah. So you're kind of quasi liturgical.
Yeah.
So, my wife makes fun of me because this is not something that, like, I give this up, but she's like, well, you don't eat those all the time, but I love them. So I give up French fries.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a story behind this. The story is that my dad loves to tell is that when I was a little tiny guy, okay, no jokes about my height. All right. When I was a little tiny guy, my dad used to dunk French fries in ketchup, and I would suck the ketchup off the French fry. So I love French fries. I love ketchup. And so the two of them together is like one of my favorite things. And so I give up French fries, but also I try to do something.
Yeah.
So I get like the little Lenten pamphlets and try to read like a reflection every day, and maybe go to morning mass. I am Catholic, so maybe go to morning mass over in Eureka at Sacred Heart. So just trying to prepare yourself mentally for all that, because the humdrum of life, boy, do we get caught up.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of when it comes to Lent, is being able to slow yourself down and like kind of take in something that's bigger than you, being obviously God. But you make the story, you say the story about sucking the ketchup off the fries.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure my daughter did not understand that fries were actually meant to be eaten, and thought they were just a vehicle to deliver ranch to her mouth.
Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly. I understand that. Easter early this year. It's Sunday, April the 5th. So, yeah, like you said, it'll be right around the corner. Oh, finally, I want to give a plug for all the fish fries.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Fish fries everywhere, but especially what I consider the best fish fry in the land, my home parish, Most Sacred Heart Parish in Eureka. My dad still kind of oversees it. I help. I'm on cleanup duty. That's all they'll trust me with. Plus, I can't get there because they do the weekday radio show. So Sacred Heart in Eureka has a fish fry every Friday in Lent. We had one this past Friday. We'll have 5 more. We don't do it on Good Friday, but the fish fries are fantastic. So it's a great place for politicians to start, talking to people ahead of those April elections.
It sure is.
And prepare for August. All right, let's bring in our next guest. She is Judge Shannon Dougherty. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thanks for joining us on Jeffco Patriot Radio. It's great to see you again.
Well, it's good to see you guys, and I really appreciate being invited to speak here today. I always love an opportunity to try to, educate people about the good things that we are doing in the court system, and that how people in the community can help with that.
Fantastic.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to be a judge.
Okay, well, a plug for Grandview R2 School District. It's a little school, but that's where I went, and I graduated from there, and I did my undergrad at Mizzou. And then I took a year off and had a job as a probation and parole officer for the state of Missouri. And I decided I wanted to go to law school for sure. So I went to the St. Louis University evening program. So it was interesting, and I think that my path was, a good path to get me to where I wanted to be. And I was an assistant prosecutor for Jefferson County. And then an opportunity became available. I knew someday I wanted to run for office, and so I ran in 2006, and so I'm still here.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I think I'm a recovering attorney, and I was a former prosecutor. That was my first gig, so we have similar paths there. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you for your public service. It's fantastic. Tell us about your role as a judge in dealing with the foster care system.
Okay, so I handle juvenile abuse and neglect cases, which are the ones that are involved with the foster care system, for over 16 years. Currently, that's not my assignment, but I kind of oversee that still as the administrative judge of the family court. And so as judge over those kind of cases are brought to you, and there's a team of people, a caseworker and counselors if they're involved with it, and, juvenile office and guardian ad litems, and we all try to do what's best for the children. And so I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but Casa is a really nice part of that team, because sometimes people, have a big caseload and they need somebody that can be that constant person that can maybe go to a meeting at school when the caseworker is busy or something like that. But Casa plays a big role because they get to see the child and have that special relationship, and then they can write reports and send them into the court, and then we review that when we're going to have a hearing.
What is, for our listeners who have had no experience with Casa, what is Casa?
CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. And so they are volunteer, and they usually have one child, maybe two, and that is their child that they get to, be a part of their life and try to make sure that their interests are being, known in the court, and, that we're there, all trying to help, but they see sometimes things and different sides of things that we don't normally see.
Now, this hasn't always been in Jefferson County, and to my understanding, you were a big part of getting Casa started in Jefferson County. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I know some of your listeners are probably going to remember Daryl Missy.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he was my mentor, and so we were judges, and we were approached by some people who were interested in bringing Casa to Jefferson County. And in fact, I reached out to him because I'm like, what year was that? And so it was probably around 2011, and it kind of got a slow start, but it really picked up and got going, and I'd say about 2014.
I consider Judge Missy a very good friend. I've known him a long time. Respect all the work he's done for kids, not only just in Jefferson County, but he had a state level position for a while as well. So I miss not seeing him on a regular basis.
Yes,
so
I miss him.
You had a great mentor indeed.
Yes, I was very fortunate.
So biggest challenges for children in the foster care system in Jefferson County would be what?
Well, and this is probably across the state, or maybe even across the country, is there's a lot of times where we don't have enough foster placements. And so sometimes children are placed far away from Jefferson County, depending on their needs and what's available. So, that's a big struggle, but I think just the removal of the children, from the home, that is a big struggle for them, and they need the comfort of, having someone like a Casa who is there for them and a steady, constant person. Because as they go through the system and the case progresses, there can be a change in case managers and all kinds of people, and that Casa is that one steady person.
So, one of the things, my wife and I have talked about is care for the child versus reunification with the family. And we've worked with some friends that have been in foster care. And it's one of those things where it's man, if it's a really bad situation, when you want to keep that kid out of that situation to be safe, but also some folks feel like keeping them with a family member or the parent is actually the healthier way to do. How do you or maybe this might be out of your realm as a judge, kind of balance that?
Well, and it is tough at times. In the courtroom, the judge is actually the person who knows the least about all the circumstances. And so, you have parents, and sometimes parents have attorneys. You have a guardian ad litem who's the attorney for the child. And then you have the juvenile office. You have the caseworker. And so all these people are giving their opinions, and you're getting reports. And so one of the things that we have to remember is that there is a law that we have to follow. And, the best interest of the child, you can argue, either side on some of that, but you have to look at the totality of the circumstances and understand that children generally want to be with their parents. And so when they come into care, I look at that as an opportunity for them to get services that they need to help them, repair what was, going on in their life that brought them to that situation, and then be reunified. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's why the system's there, but that's our goal.
Best interest of the child, that's one of those, just so folks know, that's one of those legal catchphrases that everyone in this realm has to deal with. Have the definitions and the subsets of points underneath that broad category, has that changed, evolved in any way over the last 10, 15 years?
Well, I think there's, a lot of different opinions out there, and it depends on the approach at the time. One of the things is Children's Division is that state agency, and there's been a lot of change in, the director of that agency. And then, you have different judges who are assigned these dockets. So I think, though, that people are realizing that there is trauma when the child is removed, even from a home that isn't very good.
Because it's still the home.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was their normal. So, you have to have compassion and understanding that these kids are going to struggle. And a lot of times parents, they're scared too, because they don't know or understand what's going on.
So when a child enters the foster care system, and maybe you don't know this, but how long do they typically stay in the foster care system? Is it Are most of the cases really short, really long, or just kind of somewhere in the middle?
So there are statistics on that. That's a hard word to say. But I can tell you that there's all kinds of ways to resolve a juvenile case. You can resolve it by reunification with the parent, by guardianship, by adoption, which you would have to terminate the parental rights to then have that adoption, or even that child could age out. So it depends on the case, really, on the trajectory and how much time that's going to take.
So could you explain, give some examples? What does the Casa advocate do? Like, what's the nuts and bolts of that position?
So they have to be trained. So they have a training that goes multiple weeks, maybe even months. And then they observe court so they can get a feel for it. And they get sworn in as a Casa volunteer. So then when a case comes in to the court system, the case manager, usually the children's division worker or, from another agency, they say, hey, I think the children on this case could benefit from a Casa. They make a referral to Casa, and then the juvenile office will send that order to the judge for the judge to sign off to appoint them.
Mm-hmm. And I know we'll likely get into this more with Lisa, but are we looking for more Casa advocates?
Oh, yes.
Can we use more? We're not full, right?
No. And I hear that, a few years back, things kind of slowed down, but they're picking up momentum. There's 70 to 75 Casa volunteers right
amazing.
now.
Wow.
And there's about 500 kids in care.
Okay.
So
there's your...
And they don't get assigned, more than 1 to 2 children just because, it does take a lot of time and investment, and you don't want to, make that too thinly spread for the Casa worker.
Yeah, because then you're back to like the guardian ad litem situation where they've got a bunch of different kids, right? And they're not even... So what would you say is, because a lot of people might say, well, that kind of sounds like a guardian ad litem. What would you say the big difference would be?
So the guardian ad litem represents the best interest of the child, and they're an attorney, and they have to go through training, and they have to have their continuing legal education hours. And so they meet with the kid, but as you can imagine, it can take to arrange the meeting and with their schedule. And so the Casa, being that volunteer who has 1 to 2 children, then they can, squeeze in probably more appointments, go to school for, any kind of, meeting with the teachers or school and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Resources, how are we doing on resources for Casa and the system in general in Jefferson County? I'm sure you will likely say, well, can always use more, but how are we doing resource-wise?
Well, that's not really my area, okay. And but I would say that Casa, and I think your wife's going to talk about that.
So we'll keep all these hard questions for her.
Yeah. So hey, I heard she's the better, so so.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Before we end here, is there anything else you want to leave us with?
Yeah, anything else you want to leave folks with? Maybe, call to action for this kind of subject matter area?
Well, I think that sometimes the courts get a bad rap, when you see what's going on. But we're really trying to do what's best. And, we can only deal with the cases that are put in front of us and with the information that's given to us. But you're welcome to come and observe court in the courthouse. There's also, different things you can do like Casa or, other ways that you can get involved. And I would just, encourage everyone, if you have questions, reach out. We want to give you that information. So I really thank you guys for letting me do this. I love to educate people about what we're doing and that there is good stuff going on in the courthouse.
We are very happy to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. You're an integral part of the system, and sounds like you really care about all these matters that come before you. Thank you, Judge. Thank you for being with us today. Judge Shannon Dougherty there of the County of Jefferson. Now we're going to talk about kind of how the whole operation runs, right? And how people can support it and how we can have a great gala in the next few. When is that gala coming up again?
I don't have the paper in front of me.
Yeah,
it's in April, though. I know the person who knows that. She's coming up next.
Like we keep saying, we'll have the better half. Next on Jeffco Patriot, Lisa Crow joins us next here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of this weekend's edition of Jeffco Patriot Radio. Coming up right after us, St. Charles Patriot Radio. Our brothers and sisters to the northern lands will take over after us. But we've got one fantastic segment, definitely last but not least. Billy, I think you should do the honors here in introducing our next guest.
Yeah, I think we've got the best guest we've had on since she came on last year.
Best guest in a year.
That's right. That's right. We have the beautiful, wonderful Lisa Crow. She's on the board of Casa, which is court-appointed special advocates. And obviously, if you can't tell, the last name is the same. She is my lovely wife, so I'm a little partial. Lisa, thank you for coming on and talking about Casa again. Why don't you start with telling us a little bit about how you got started with Casa and like your background in the foster care system, because I've heard it a million times, but it never ceases to amaze me how amazing that story is.
Sure. So we actually attended a gala, which is why I love inviting people to it. We always have a goal of pulling people in volunteer-wise for the gala. And I had no idea that this was happening in Jefferson County, which is shame on me for, because it had been operating for quite a while. But any involvement in caring for the children of Jefferson County was really important to me. So when I was a freshman in college, I spent the summer as a nanny for a family friend out of state. But at the time, I loved being involved in childcare. And so I was super excited about being there. And it ended quite abruptly in a way that things did then.
The family was fostering.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the family that I nannied for was fostering 3 children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we had a great summer, but it doesn't happen like this anymore. We have amazing courts that have, assessed the needs of the child. But at that time, I won't date myself, but children were moved out of their foster homes without prior knowledge. And so we were given 24 hours notice that the children were moving. And then we were given an hour and a half to pack up all of their belongings after they had left to give to their counselor. And so as a young, impressionable
that must have left an impact on you.
It was also difficult to go home to my family, my room that I grew up in, and receive the comfort of my family, knowing that I would never see these children again. And I knew that, like, the girl that I shared a room with, her favorite stuffed animal was in a trash bag. And I just really hoped that she would find it before bedtime, and like thinking through all of that time. So I knew that there was a gap in what we're trying to do to care for children. And when I saw what Casa does, I was like, whatever I can do to be involved in this, I love it. I want to advocate for children. I want to care for the children of our county because they really are the future of where our county's going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Lisa, I think sometimes for those of us who, quote, live normal lives, whatever that means.
Sure.
My wife and I talk about this all the time. We're also the parents of 2 daughters, and they're now this year they'll be 21 and 17. So they're young ladies now.
Yeah.
And we're so blessed because, yes, we've had lots of drama and trauma and things along the way, but all in all, a pretty normal Midwest family. But then you look around, and I did practice law for nearly 2 decades. I handled domestic cases, not because I wanted to, because good friends of mine said, Tim, please help me. Mm-hmm. And boy, you really see kind of the other side of the tracks and how there's so many people in distress in this system.
Yes, and the children are innocent. Like, that's the thing that I absolutely love about caring here. We don't have to make a judgment. We know that the children that are involved have been through no fault of their own, involved in really difficult situations that even adults don't know what to do with. Mm-hmm. That's why we have so many professionals involved in all of this, is because we need a lot of opinions to figure out how to deal with hard situations. And so these children are thrust into these situations, and what Casa does is we provide someone that says, I'm here for you. And the only thing that I'm doing here is to make sure that your voice is heard, to make sure that someone's spending time with you, to give you a little bit of stability. And I'm doing that as a volunteer. You matter so much to me that I want to spend my own time, my own effort, my own emotional strength to just come behind you and say, I'm here for you. And so I absolutely love that, because our poor children are, neglected, abused, and then hopefully get someone, and a trusted adult, trained adult, to say, I'm here for you, and I what is happening to you matters to me.
Now, in Casa, I know we've talked about it before, there's a lot of different ways for people to help the cause and participate in this. Can you line out for some of those, and maybe the amount of time that they could take from someone? Because someone might say, well, I could hang out with a kid, but I don't know how many hours,
Absolutely.
or maybe that's too much for me.
It's one of the best questions I get, and I love it when people ask that, because you know that they're considering, what can I actually fulfill what this child needs? And that's exactly what we want from volunteers, to look at this and take it seriously, that I want to make sure that I'm giving what this child needs before I just hop in willy-nilly. So I love that question. So typically our volunteers are, we have our training courses. Some of that's online, some of that's in person. We do have ongoing training that happens regularly throughout the month that we encourage all of our volunteers to come in and participate in. We ask you to show up to court dates, which can be scheduled around our volunteers' schedules, which, you all kind of got to get together and figure out where the team can make it. But typically what our volunteers do is they meet with the children either once a week to once a month. And they will, sometimes they come to lunch at school. Sometimes they show up to sporting events. Sometimes they talk to the foster parents and meet up at their home or a nearby park or whatever, and just spend time with the kids. One of my favorite volunteers carries board games in her car. I love it. So she's like prepared to have a game time. And, as our kids have experienced really difficult, traumatic experiences, like the idea of just like playing as a child again is a huge thing. So like it seems daunting because you know that this child has gone through something really big, but just presence and just play can be a huge part of hearing what that child is experiencing. And so we also do ask our volunteers, if the court asks for it, for opinions on how that child is adjusting, what that child's opinions are, and then depending on the age of the child, they might also help that child create a statement for the court that they can submit to the judge. So it's all about communication, it's about emotional health, and it's about just bridging that gap of how do we make sure that our children are taken care of.
Would you explain, like, what is the organizational structure of Casa? Who is Casa?
Sure.
Who is all involved with it?
Yeah.
And I believe there's tons of volunteer opportunities, and where do all the funding sources come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so we have about 4 or 5 employees at any given time. We have a director, and then most of our paid employees are directly supervising our volunteers. We've had an uptick in volunteers, which is amazing. So we sit around 90 right now. And so our organization is typically mostly volunteers and a little bit of paid staff. And then our funding comes from mostly grants right now. And we also do fundraisings throughout the year and then regular giving. So we would love to see more regular giving. We'd love to see the county come around our kiddos, because that would mean that some of the people that are working to fill out those grant applications could be more on the supervising side. So if we have volunteers, they need supervisors, and supervisors need paid position and training. And so we definitely need that money to come in to like cover all of those positions, as well as the files. I mean, as a lawyer, I'm sure you've seen all of the files that go into thing. Our volunteers get the files. We got to print those, and all of the resources that go into training and supporting training throughout the year.
So is Casa, is it statewide and it's county based? Is there like a St. Louis County Casa and a Franklin County Casa, or is it regional, or how does that work?
Yeah. So, I should have answered that. So Casa is national. It's an organization that's been around since I think the late 70s, early 80s. And then each Casa organization is attached to like a judicial court. And we are just Jefferson County Casa, though if you support any Casa, we're super happy. So thank you for doing that. They're based around the court systems.
Gotcha.
And because they're all around the nation, if you Google search Jefferson County Casa, you need to make sure it's Jefferson County, Missouri Casa.
Yeah.
Because Jefferson County, Colorado, and Kentucky come up before Missouri's Casa. We've seen some people run into that before.
Maybe in Illinois, too.
Yeah,
maybe in Jefferson County in Illinois.
It is, yeah.
Yes, you got Jefferson County, Missouri Casa.
I mean, we don't begrudge anyone giving money or time to any Casa. We are happy that the children of our nation are being
Just want you to find the right one.
Yes. But if you want volunteer hours, it would be closer to be in Missouri.
So you talk about one of the fundraising being a source of your income.
Yes.
The big fundraisers coming up, the gala.
Gala.
Tell us about that.
We are celebrating the magic of Casa at our 9th annual Gala for Children. So we have a really cool magician coming this year. He's like a social magician. So like he's going to be walking around at the tables doing some things. And then he also has an act that he's doing. We have silent auctions.
Will you hypnotize Billy and make him dance on the table?
asked if you would take extra for some specific things, but I won't hurt myself here. Yeah, no.
Laundry. I know what they are.
An alcohol pull, and I think some other large ticket items. We do our balloon pop that everybody loves. Some really fun. We also have a signature cocktail this year that we all deliberated over, glitter or no glitter. I advocated for glitter. And then just we have some fun etched glasses, some different stuff this year. We're really excited about it.
So the gala is
April
where
11th.
and when?
Yes. Okay. So Saturday, April 11th from 6 to 10 p.m. and it will be at the clubhouse of Oak Valley Golf Course, which is in Peevely. And if we also have sponsorships available, you can put ad space in our program if you can't make the event, or just find us online. And if there's a volunteer event or like something that interests you, come figure out what you can do with us.
So how much is a table, and what are some of the prices on the different sponsorships?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have $70 for an individual to attend, $120 per couple, or $600 for a table of 10. And then we have anywhere from like a diamond event sponsor at $5,000, which gets you a table and like big thank yous and those kinds of things, all the way down to a bronze sponsor, which is a couple tickets, $250, stuff like that. And then our program ads are $100 or $200, depending on half page or full page.
The website that we want to direct people to, and then we'll remind them about 3 more times.
Absolutely. JeffersonCountyCasa.org. And you can /events if you want to find our specific things with the gala.
Great. Excellent. I had another question about that. Oh, this typically sells out, right?
It does, yes.
So if you're thinking about going, don't think too long.
Yes, please. Or our tables might, expand to 12. No, I'm kidding. We don't do that. But so get your reservation in. We'd love to see you all there. We can't wait to have a great night celebrating the magic of Casa.
And if you were one of the local politicians that are running for office that sat on my table last year was your warning. This year you get your own table because you know about it now.
Well, and you know what?
right.
You make a great point, and Lisa mentioned this before we started the segment, that if you cannot attend because you have a family event or a commitment or kids' sports travel schedules or whatever, you can sponsor the event. And we would love
sponsor.
And Billy, I think we should challenge every single elected official and candidate for office who has been or wants to be on Jeffco Patriot Radio. You should do a sponsorship for this incredible cause.
I think we should do that.
Keep your name in lights.
Yeah,
right?
there's no reason we shouldn't be pushing that on Facebook and seeing how many of them we can get, for sure. And honestly, if you do that, we will even give you an extra shout out on the show the week after the gala.
It's a good idea. We could go through all the sponsors at some point in time.
Yeah. So I love it.
That would be really kind. Also, like, our children are nonpartisan. Like, they do not have a political party yet. So, letting them know that you care about them and your political position is a big deal.
Well, and I think that's a big deal for us as conservatives, right? Because we think that government is not the answer. We think it is a personal responsibility and is our responsibility as citizens to help care for the less fortunate. And it's our opportunity to be able to give back to them and not and take care of our own.
And nobody does better work than a volunteer, because they want to do it and they expect nothing in return other than maybe just some personal satisfaction that are helping out other human beings, especially the little people amongst us.
Right, absolutely. So any last things you want us to take away before we end the show today?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to give numbers at the end of my spiel.
Let's
because
do it.
I feel like it's really important that we keep in mind how many kiddos we're talking about. So in the state of Missouri, we have over 12,000 children in foster care. In Jefferson County alone, we typically have anywhere from 600 to 1,000 children in foster care. That means that they have been through probably one of the toughest days of their life, and they are now in a system that is unfamiliar and confusing to them. Honestly, it's unfamiliar and confusing to most adults. But hopefully, eventually, we will get to a point where we have casas that are waiting for children rather than children waiting for casas.
That's
like
the goal,
I said
right?
earlier, we have 90 volunteers in Jefferson County that typically, like Shannon said earlier, like one-on-one or one-on-two. And so if you can, do math like I sometimes can, we have hundreds of children that could benefit from advocacy in our court system. And If you don't mind, one more number. If a child is lucky enough to be assigned a Casa, they are 50% more likely to find a permanent home while in the system, whether through adoption or a permanent foster home or even reunification or sometimes family adoption. So we see some really great numbers of stability, of not remaining within system, whether that be jail time or other government programs, whenever we find that our children feel like somebody cares about them, anybody, just some adult saying, I'm here for you, I care about you, and let's make sure that you have the support that you need.
Well, that's the reason for the season right there. April the 11th is the gala. Tomato. For Casa, the Casa Gala is April the 11th. Lisa, one more time, the website where people can get all the details, sign up, et cetera, and so forth.
JeffersonCountyCasa.org.
Fantastic. And thank you for all the cookies.
Oh, anytime.
This week, yes, as we've already all broken our Lenten promises. So that's Lisa Crow, and we want to thank you for all you do for the Jefferson County community and for all the children in our region. Billy, another fast show. Can hardly believe it's over, but we'll be back next week. Have no fear. We will be here on Jeffco Patriot Radio. Billy Crow, Tim Jones. Continue to listen to us. St. Charles Patriot Radio up next. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.